research, I can pop it in there.
It's lunch still sitting away. I just took a one day window and just took a lunch.
I'm so low. It's so new.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your remarks because you had the recognition of so many people who really meant a lot to you, and that's important to do. And it also shows people who are applying for this scholarship the types of interactions that you have outside of the lecture hall, in the laboratory, and build some relationships you'll have for a long time with these people. So
one thing too is, it's not just me, doing all this by myself. It was like I couldn't do it without my team. I couldn't do it without them. And so, I wouldn't be here without you and Dr. Grappo and Dave Melanson and Dr. Andrews. Is just, it's not just me. At the end of the day, it takes, a community.
It's true, but what's so unique about this particular scholarship, the way they've set it up, and I'm very honored to have my name associated with it, but is that you are the PI. You are in charge of the give and take of what takes place and what you want to do, but you've got these mentors on the sideline that are cheering you on, and that's a quite unique experience for an undergraduate.
Oh, it's been fantastic and wild and all sorts, and I honestly think it'll, I hope this becomes even more successful because I know it's changed me, but, it's wild when I'm going to sit with grad schools and talking with them, and I tell them I'm the PI, their faces, like, what? Like, this is insane, and they love that. And I think that, is one of the things that'll push UK forward into being, the incredible top institution that it really is.
Yeah, what you brought back a lot of memories to me because when I was a young faculty member here many years ago, I had an Army contract to build a teleconferencing system. This was before the internet and so forth. And we had to make circuit boards, we had to make optical assemblies, did a lot of stuff like that hands-on. And I'd probably have 8 or 10 undergraduates working in my display laboratory every semester. And the way that changed their education was what really impressed me, because instead of going down and sitting in what we used to call the pit back when it was there and having a Coke or something and talking about last week's basketball game, they're in the laboratory watching a professor or writer or someone do something new and different. And that's what you want to get that dream experience started earlier in their career so they can see the new things they can do and realize that what's in the textbook's already been solved. But what's happening in the laboratory is new stuff.
Yeah, it's been awesome getting down in the lab. And, like I was saying tonight, it was like I was learning stuff ahead of my classes, out of, just necessity of the lab required me to learn how to do mass transfer. It was like I was learning some of those topics that I hadn't been involved with yet. But when I got to them in my classes, it was remarkable how easy they were for me. Because I was like, one, I know the application of this. I know why this is useful. All my friends are like, why are we doing calculus? Why are we doing differential equations? And it's like, well, in my lab, I can show you where, I've used some of that and how that's helped me, as wild as it might seem. But to be able to, get a look forward and understand application first, and then understanding the real deep dive and the nitty gritty of it helps you then further your ability to apply it.
Yeah, I hope that the students who watch this will take the message that you've given to them loud and clear, that you need to get into the lab or get into a professor's office. It doesn't have to be a wet lab experience. It can be any professor here who is doing something new and novel to enrich your experience. I got into an experience when I was an undergraduate. I'd gotten a caer air conditioning scholarship. The founders of caer air conditioner came from Kentucky, UK. And so the beauty of that scholarship, it paid a stipend, but it also gave me a summer job working in Syracuse at their research labs. First time I'd been out of the state of Kentucky. First time I'd been on an airplane. And you go up there and you get to see stuff, and you watch the TV ads about their air conditioners, and you realize that you're doing things to make them better. And that type of education is what an engineer should be getting. That's the kind of thing that we talk about in engineering. You're solving problems, you're creating problems, and you're finding solutions.
And for me, I was surprised that it was going to be, in all places, the mining engineering department. I'm a chemical engineer, and, I have these preconceived notions of what I think mining engineering is. But, having those opportunities help me just step out and explore something different has helped me become more advanced in my education and be able to have these, principles of designing experiments and being able to go forward with research that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
And that's a very good point for anybody looking at the engineering field, is that you need to cross disciplines. You may go in as an ME or an EE, but when you get out into the real world, you're going to have to probably do some chemistry, do different things. And as I've often said, if you try to just use your education to solve a problem, you'll get a solution. But if you gang it with other people who have different perspectives, that's when the patents come about. That's when the revolutionary ideas come about. That's where you stretch something to do things that hadn't been thought of before. Yeah. And so, of course, you're unique in that you've got triple majors and and you can gang up by yourself on a problem with different pieces of artillery. But and also going into a department that wasn't what you had thought about in mining engineering, it was refreshing for them to have you, but also refreshing for you to see what they did. And that combination is what education is all about.
I learned a lot from them, as going down into the mining engineering labs and seeing these huge tools that I never seen before. And Dr. Rappo was taking me around and showing me all of them, and I'm like, oh wow, this is so cool, because what engineer doesn't find things that crush and break things as just destroy them super awesome. I remember one time when I first came into the lab, they were like, all right. They just threw me in. It was kind of, it was intimidating at first, but, it was the support system that they gave me that made me realize that it doesn't matter if I fail, they'll be with me when I fail and when I succeed. And one of my first tasks was building this coupled leaching and electrowinning system to recycle copper from electronic waste, and it required a whole lot of PVC. And I did not know all about PVC, and I was, I remember I'd go to Dr. Rappo's office and I was like, what do I need? I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I didn't even know the best ways to glue PVC together. And they teach me how, and trying to figure out, okay, if I'm designing this reactor, I need to put these pieces together like this and glue them here and do that. And within a year, I was no longer going to them for questions. They were coming to me, to the point where one time I needed this specialty part. We were scaling it up and I needed a bigger part, and I had designed it out. I'd drawn out everything that I needed, shown it to my team and said, "That's what I'm going to build in the lab. It's going to be great for us." And they're like, "Awesome, go buy it, go get it." And I went to the specialty plumbing store, and I walk in, and you see me and my long hair, and you're like, oh, he's not a plumber. What is he doing? And before I could take maybe 5 steps into this plumbing store, one of the employees comes and cuts me off and is like, "Hi, can I help you?" A little condescending. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, do you all have PVC parts?" And he's like, "Yeah, we do." And I'm like, "Oh, what aisle are they in?" And he's like, "Oh, it's aisle 30 down there." I'm like, "Oh, awesome, thank you. I'll just go take a look." And so I, go, and they didn't have what I needed. And so I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I had my list, and they didn't have it. And I'm walking out, and that same guy comes right back to me. He's like, "Oh, did you find everything all right?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't find what I was looking for. I don't think you all have it." And he's like, "Oh, really? What are you looking for?" And I remember sitting there and not even looking at my notes, just off the top of my head. I'm listing out my different parts. I'm like, "Oh, I need a 4x6 adapter and bushing, and I need all these different parts." And the guy's face went, "Oh, he knows what he's talking about." He may not look like a plumber. He doesn't have the overalls on. And then, he starts quizzing me a little bit. He's like, "Are you doing schedule 40 or schedule 80? And I was like, "Oh, schedule 40. And,
That's
he was
cool.
like, "Oh, let me go look in the back for, is like,"
there you go.
That moment I realized, I was like, "Oh, I do know what I'm talking about, and I feel more competent."
Cool.
But asked me a year ago, and I wouldn't have had that. I picked all that up in the lab, and they taught me how to do that.
I'm sure he's told that story many times to several people about this student coming in. So when you got the scholarship, what did you decide you wanted to do in your research, and what are you doing in your research?
So I remember when I wrote my proposal, I had been working for about 3 years in electronic waste recycling. So I was recycling cell phones, solar panels, laptops, anything with a circuit board in it and that had some value. We would shred it up, and I would run it through my chemical processes, and I would recycle the copper from it. And so building on that knowledge and skill set that I developed there, I was like, let's, try something different. Let's do solar panels. And so taking a look at solar panels, I didn't realize the need immediately. I didn't realize how big it was going to be. But solar panels, as we're looking into the future, they've got this 25 to 30 year lifespan. And so by 2050, we're expected to see anywhere from about 60 to 78 million tons of photovoltaic solar panel waste. And they've got this concentration of lead that's so high that makes it hazardous. So you throw that away in your landfill, and now that becomes an environmental hazard. So what we do is we take our solar panel and we run it through our physical and chemical processes. And what we do is we recover the glass, the plastic, and the metals with that. So the copper, the lead, the silver, silicon, as well, all of those.
That's it's a remarkable idea, because not only does it have the educational and academic value, but it's got entrepreneurial value as well. And one of the things this state needs is to have our own people having their own ideas, because I've said for years that we have Kentucky people starting Kentucky companies that stay in Kentucky and offer jobs to Kentuckians. And that's why we need some of these donors to step up to create more Lucases, so that we'll have other students, because the donation in this particular area is kind of the spice, the flavoring for a recipe that we already have in place to provide the basic education in engineering and sciences. But you really want to go outside of that and have access to the equipment you've had access to, have the opportunity to go give papers around the country and show what Kentuckians can do and how we think. And that takes a little extra money, and that's where it's important. And I applaud the CER for putting this thing together. And I know that they're helping to support it, but we need other people as well, so we can have more Lucases.
Well, I am just incredibly thankful to all the donors that we have, because whether they realize it or not, they have been a direct part in shaping my future and changing that for me. The opportunities that I have now would not have happened at all. I can say that with total certainty. And to be honest, I still have moments where I just kind of realize, I'm like, oh wow, like everything that I've been able to accomplish would have seemed so foreign to me, when I started college. But because of these opportunities that the Center for Applied Energy Research and the donors, because of that, have enabled, it has really changed my life for sure. And I would love to see that happen for future students, because there is a plethora of opportunity here in Kentucky.
You're a native Kentuckian, and one thing I have also said for a long time, that education is a process of removing intimidation levels. And I grew up in a town of 2,000 people, so I was intimidated about going to a small college initially. You have to work through that, and then you go to the next level, and I've seen you blossom just in the time I've known you in giving your presentations, not only here on this campus, but a pretty big campus with quite a bit of competition, but going elsewhere, Frankfurt and out in Arizona or someplace. You gave one recently, won first place. So that's important. And you have to have that confidence. You've got to take some risk, putting yourself out there and making those presentations. But you got to have the confidence in that you can do that, because there are people around the nation that are confident they can do things that we can't do. We got to prove we can do the same thing.
Yeah,
or better.
Exactly. There's a lot of truth behind, the statement Kentucky can, because we 100% can. And, having those doors opened and those opportunities have just shown that when you put a little bit of faith and trust in us, we will go miles beyond what you expect. So one thing I'm really curious about is, I know what it's like when I got the phone call myself, but for you, what was that like when they told you, we're going to name this after you?
It really, I think Dave Melanson called me, or Rodney, one of the two, had been putting it together. I was in awe, because I've been off campus for now 10 plus years. You generally think you've had your swan song, you've done your thing, but they couldn't have thought of anything that I appreciate more than how they put this together, because I had put such an emphasis on undergraduate research and entrepreneurship, and they packaged this so well, but they also added more than what I would have ever thought to give you access to all the facilities and all the brain power that you can interact with. So I'm still in awe that it's named after me, and I'm very honored with that. And I'm honored that you were the first choice, and the next one's got a lot to live up to.
I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you. But your legacy here is so potent and so powerful and deeply embedded within all of the facilities that we have on campus and our undergraduate research. How much you supported that and put into it, whether you understand the full extent, it has definitely, from a student perspective, opened up so much for us and been incredibly beneficial and positive in our own lives and careers.
I heard it when I was in business. We did a lot of work in the government, and I heard a general speak one time, and he said, when you're a general, it's like you're the star at the top of a Christmas tree. The hard part's get the lights lit all the way to the bottom. And you can have an idea, but if you don't have lights that go on and people who are responsible for that, and I can't say enough about Dr. Cassius and the commitment she's made to undergraduate education, and with CAER's commitment to it, because it's one thing to have a thought as a leader, but if you don't have people who follow it, and the fact that it's still going on is what just really makes me feel good. Every time I'd interview a student who had just been elected the president of the student body, I would tell them, you can spend your time getting caught up in some emotional item and do some campus rebel type things. What you really need to do is think about something that you can put in place that will last, so that when you bring your child back here, you can say, I helped start that. And it gave me such a warm feeling to realize that this was a commitment to undergraduate research, which is something that I was really invested in. So very proud of it.
Thank you so much for it. It's certainly changed my life in a better way forever.
One thing, when I heard about your project, I immediately realized it's got commercial opportunity, and I was so pleased to know that you were aiming that direction. So where do you stand with that now?
That was something, I'm glad you saw it at first. I'll be honest, at first I was intimidated by the whole idea, thinking, I'm just an undergraduate. What do I know about starting a business? CEO is a term that you see on TV shows and movies.
Right.
It's not something for, my 21-year-old self as a college student. But as I was doing more presentations, where people kept coming up to me, and the question I always got was, do you have investors yet? Do you have investors yet? Here's my business card, come talk to me, reach out to me. And to the points where I was fending off people, and I was saying, hold on, I can't right now, and I was, at first coming up with a bunch of excuses for why I can't, and some of them at first were legitimate, but after I got over those, it was like, now I'm just making up excuses because I'm scared. And when I realized that, all right, let's put the fear aside and let's leap for it, and I found the perfect opportunity to go after it, and said, not only is it a goal that I have right now for myself, but it makes a lot of sense, and that this technology needs to be commercialized. It needs to be out there. It needs to benefit society in that sense. And so it's been a fantastic process of learning how to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you've already named the company, you've incorporated a company.
Yes. So the name is Verdant Beneficiated Resources. So Verdant is green, it's lush.
Right.
It kind of describes this concept of green. Beneficiated is a mining term. And so it comes from the sense of upgrading a material. So how they would take like dirt and ore and upgrade that into metals, and then resources. So you put it all together. It's the green upgrading of resources, which kind of spells out the recycling aspects. And I'm going to start off with solar panels, but I'm not going to stay there. There's plans for it to explore other avenues as well and provide that resource recovery to be able to create the circular economies for America here.
The good thing too here at UK now, there is the Office of Technology Commercialization that can give you advice in that area and can make contacts and can kind of help mentor you through that process, because it does get complicated, and especially if you haven't done it before. So, but I applaud you for thinking that way, because there's a certain fulfillment when you have something that you see hit a marketplace, meet a need, And especially when you're in this green revolution that you've spoken about before too. The country needs that right now.
Yeah, and I would love to see that, even that green revolution happen here in Kentucky.
Yeah.
You know, there is plenty of opportunity for it. You know, we've got amazing people, we've got amazing space to do it. And so to bring, you know, my company here to Kentucky and be able to be part of that just means the world to me.
Yeah.
So Dr. Todd, in your opinion, why do you think all of our wonderful donors and even future donors should give to this program?
I think if they see your presentation, they would probably want them to invest in the opportunity to create more students who have that ambition to go forward and take their ideas through the research process into the economy to help build this state. That's one reason. It's just in the university, when you have this budget that's sensitive to the state's surplus or lack of surplus, you look for ways that you can do some things that just can't afford to be done in the base budget. And the spice that you get from donations from philanthropy is what allows you to put programs in place like this. And the beauty of this one is that you've gotten it off such a good start. I know they want to do more than one a year. They want to do more of these. And that's where donors who invest in this program will see a benefit from it, because they'll begin to get information back about what the students are accomplishing for quite some time. I know how this will work. And that gives them that sense. People want to give to students. And this is a perfect opportunity to do that, for them to see a way to help change the state of Kentucky.
No offense to your alma mater here, but I think with this program and seeing, you know, the donors further that, I think UK can rival MIT and, you know, producing top-notch students with these top-notch research and entrepreneurship capabilities here. And, you know, I've seen it firsthand myself, and I look forward to the day when there is more than one Lee Todd scholar, you know, at a time, you know, and seeing that this program expands, because it's really going to change some lives here. What advice would you give someone like myself, who is a young entrepreneur starting up, through your own experiences and what you've learned?
Well, for one thing, I think it's really important that you continue your education. Get that final degree. I used to go back to my hometown to the pool room where I used to play quite a bit of pool, and they'd say, "Are you still in school?" And so I don't want anybody to ever tell me I don't have enough education. If I can get it, I want to get it. And that opens a lot of doors for you that you might not get into otherwise. I think in parallel with that, it's going to be essential for you to watch your eyes on how you want to take this together entrepreneurially. Get some advice, get some mentors, because there are things you can do too fast, and there are things you can do too slow, and there's an optimum in there someplace. If you can integrate your PhD programs into the company direction, then that's a bonus. And be surrounded by, that's where I feel good about Kentucky. We're beginning to get enough mentorship in this town of people who've started companies and been successful, that you can find people who've been through this before. And so I would say get the degree, keep your entrepreneurship flowing through that, and you can't put off the possibility that it may be time to start a company while you're even doing that. That'll be a challenge, but that's where you need even more mentorship, and reach out to other people who can help you carry that ball. Let me ask you this. You've been through this program now. What would be your advice to students who are going to apply for this scholarship?
I would say, first off, don't be afraid, and don't let fear overwhelm you in terms of seeing something like this and thinking, I can't do this, I can't lead my own research, because the truth is I thought that at first and realized very quickly how capable I am because of the people that I have behind me, and that you've got a plethora of support there at the Center for Applied Energy Research, and they all want to see you succeed, and you're going to do great. Second with that is when it comes to filling out your application, be as specific as possible. I remember when I was writing mine, you know, I was playing to my strength of I'd already been doing research in electronic waste recycling. Now let me choose something different, which is solar panels. And so I was able to take the skill set that I knew and kind of, directly put in there, this is what I would do. Here's my plan. And that plan might not be completely correct as you go through. You might find that there are going to be some changes to that plan as you get into the research and realize new challenges come up. But being as specific as you can up front showcases not only the talents that you've learned both inside and outside of labs, as well as that classroom setting, but really communicates the skill set that you have. Third, step out of your comfort zone. Do presentations. I remember the first time I did a presentation as an undergraduate, I was scared. Going into, does my poster look good? Are people going to come talk to me? Are they going to be interested? And I was so worried about the things that I couldn't control, and didn't spend enough time realizing it's going to be all right. Just go in and do it. Get out of your comfort zone, being afraid. Even when I was walking around campus holding up a sign with a QR code that says come to a night with Lee and Lucas and Lee Todd by 90, I could feel my heart beating in my chest. I was nervous, but it was really successful. And people came up and they scanned the QR code, and realizing that you got to take that leap of faith to just step out of what you think is possible to realize that what you dream is wildly possible. Dr. Todd, I just want to say how thankful I am to you, and not only the legacy you've hold and what you've pushed into this university here to enable students to go further, to go farther, and be the light within Kentucky, but as well as, setting the example for, what being an innovator and an entrepreneur can look like, that we can be technical and we can be these business people, and that coupling those ideas together, we can really create successful sustainability. And so for that, and placing the trust in me to carry along this first scholarship has been immense, because it has opened doors for me that I would have never dreamed of when I set foot on this campus for the first time. I remember when I was touring, when I was a senior in high school, and I was at UK, and they're giving me a tour, and I literally canceled all of my college visits after that. I said, this is where I'm gonna be, this is where I'm meant to be, and to realize that that about the students here at UK, and that they're meant to be there, and to have that faith in us as a teacher, mentor, and leader within this community shows us that we are capable even when we don't believe that we are capable ourselves.
Well, it's an honor for me to have you as the first holder of this scholarship, and I can't wait to watch what Luke does going out in the future. It's very exciting.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for your comments too. Very meaningful. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr.